Hey, greetings everyone. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. Um, we're going to talk today about, and we're going to talk about treasure and the connection to terror. If I can get my screens to work here. Okay. I got too many screens open today, folks. Let me see here. It seems I'm coming through good for everybody else, G Spot. Maybe check your sound there, unless no, I think everything's going good on all channels. I've actually got 3 channels going today, folks. So if you're on Hecklebus, El Perro, or Keith Little, hit those like, share, subscribe buttons. And if you're on one, please switch over to the others and hit those like, share, and subscribe buttons and get these algorithms up. In the meantime, I want to thank everybody for joining me and supporting me. The StreamYard link is pinned to the top if anybody wants to come join me. And of course, there's a PayPal link down in the chat sections in case anybody wants to share some love. And what we're going to talk today is a common goal for most everybody that's born in life in this materialistic world. Everybody has this dream of finding some kind of treasure that will make them wealthy, worldly, renowned, popular, famous, and all those good things that come along with that personification of being a worldly man. But again, I urge everybody to get back to the scriptures and realize that we're so much more than the materialistic being that we present here in this world. And when we go seeking treasures, most often, if you take a look at the treasure of Oak Island, I'm sure most people are familiar with that. And over time, 6 people died on that project. There's supposedly some myth of some sort, some tale, some legend that 7 will die before they find the treasure. And they've had a lot of success here in the recent couple of years as to how it relates to the fact that there is or was actually something buried in those in that particular area. And as the term treasure relates to terror, we're going to go through some etymology today. And so when I tell people to take those words and terms that they see before them and seek out the root word and start from that point, look at the term treasure. And you see it spelled T-R-E-A. And then you see a very definite root word, S-U-R-E. I want you to think about that for a minute. Because anytime you're seeking a treasure, it's founded on the basis that you're not really sure. Okay. And as that term treasure goes, there's 3 parts. Even though you only see the root word and then T-R-E-A, you're going to see that in all cases, there's 3 parts. So let's take a look at the etymology, not of the word treasure and not of the word sure. But let's take a look at the etymology of the beginning part, T-R-E-A. And as we see here before, this is just a general search for the T-R-E-A. And it says Trea, Trey, is a feminine name with Latin and Irish roots. So, like I've said before, the English language is merely an adoption of prior roots. And as it goes to the English term treasure, it is actually an adoption of sure and Trey, which is both of Latin and Irish roots. Coming from Latin name tertia, it translates to third, making it a meaningful choice if baby's being welcomed by two older siblings. Two older siblings. Now, when one man gets together with another woman as children of God and create a third child of God, this would be an expression of an inherent trust, if that's the way one could see it. So now we have a trust. That's what trusts are all about. 2 and 3. Because, see, a trust shall not fail for want of trustee. So a man and a woman can get together and form a trust without the trustee. Now, the trustee being Jesus in metaphorical use here as it relates to religion and spirituality. He is the trustee that is no longer there. So let's go on to the next one. Trey, Wiktionary, the free dictionary, from the number Trey, T-R-E, from the number T-R-E, A, Trea-sure, Trea-sure. T-R-A-E, Wiktionary, from Old Norse T-R-E again. So now we see Wiktionary actually says Norwegian. Norwegian. So the number 3 is of a Norwegian origin. And the Norwegian origin also points to tree. Tree or wood. The meaning of names. And again, it says, according to a user from Louisiana, U.S., the name Trey means third in line. According to a user from Nevada, U.S., the name Trey means 3 or the third child. Then it shows us etymology of TRES, etymology meaning of Trey, by Entem Online. From Latin trans, beyond. So let's take a look at that. Because you remember we have gone over words in the past in this etymology that also mean beyond. Priory. Beyond the second coming. Well, is it beyond in the future as a third coming, or is it beyond in the past, depending on which way that time talk is ticking? So, greetings, Chris. How you doing today, brother?
Oh, greetings. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you. What's going on, brother?
Oh, well, I was just tuning in. Saw you were on the panel here, so I had some interesting thoughts. I have a certain interest in the Hawaiian Islands, specifically Maui. Some of my posterity and extended family live there. I was doing some research to find out what's really going on over there. And
yeah. Yeah, it's kind of disturbing, some of the things that come to light when you do your research on that.
Yeah, I think I know, but it's disturbing me that the people, that can do something about it don't know.
Well, they're the ones that put certain people in place to do it. You know, this Pelletier guy, he's very
Yeah.
sus. He's very sus. You know, like I said, when you look into do the research and look into the history of this guy and how he ended up in Hawaii and all this, it's quite disturbing. So, and
Well,
that's like
I think we should follow the money trail as far as like whose bank accounts are being uh, credited and at what time and for what
well, yeah,
apparent reason.
not only that, but again, that relates to the foundational element that I've been researching for the last 7 years. Is where does all this money come from? It comes from the initial statistical jurisdiction, where they take a journal and create a general journal and create a general ledger so that they can track. And that's, they say follow the money. Well, if you really follow the money, you're going to follow it back to that original certified statement of live birth, where in that live birth creates a death certification implication.
Didn't BlackRock just purchase Ancestry online?
I'm not sure. I haven't researched that.
I almost positive. I mean, 99% positive that I was going over some research a few weeks ago and I discovered that was factually the case.
It wouldn't surprise me at all, because that's what LexisNexis and all them are all about, is the statistical elements. And if you can, and see, this relates to the number of the beast, that the individual's name and number identify a record. What's the last record that goes in place in this world when we pass away? The headstone.
That's a death certificate.
The headstone.
The headstone, right.
Mark of the beast, ye shall see it on the forehead. What is a headstone?
Mm-hmm.
And it sits on what? A flat stone known as a ledge rock.
Wow.
Ledger. Now the casket is down below and will never be seen again.
It almost appears to me like some kind of a battery situation. Like cemeteries in general, the way they're set up, it's like you're looking at a battery setup.
Well, I don't know so much about that, but I do know the symbolism that I see in it is that headstone is the mark of the beast on the forehead, and everybody gets to see that for eternity. And therefore, the legacy, the story of the man, is limited to just a few words on that headstone. Whereas the record that's entered into the National Archives will show all the statistical elements of what kind of man that society perceived him to be. And that's a false record. There is no one that's supposed to judge the man, no matter how you state it, whether you judge him as a popular man doing good works or a devil doing bad deeds. The only one that's supposed to judge the man is the Father in heaven. So when I get raucous and passionate and loud and stuff, I'm not judging the man. I'm judging people's use of the words without understanding what they mean. And that's why I wanted to do this thing on treasure and the connection to terror, because anytime you're going forth seeking treasure and wanting something more than what's already been provided, you should be terrified. You should have the fear of the Lord in you. So let's take a look at this as it relates to the TRES as an adverb. Adverb. Vary from 1815, from French trait, from Old French trait, right, precisely, completely, as in whole. And that's where we get our modern term Very, very is a very modern term, 1850. And it's simply replacing rightly or precisely or completely. It's synonymous with right. Later, very, compare Old Italian trafreddo, very cold. So now we see TRE, TRA. What is TRU? What about TRI? See, it's all relative to 3. Anytime you see TRE, TRA, TRI, TRO, TRU, it is in regards to 3. And this is why we have a trover, as in controversy. Trover term. So
that's an observation. Yeah. Well,
trans, word forming element meaning across, beyond, through, on the other side of, to go beyond. Remember, priory, to go beyond the facts of the record and place supplemental facts that were in existence before language was even created. The inherent natural spiritual being has nothing to do with words. Words are simply a conveyance through a description of something else. It is never going to be the thing, the person, or the place itself. Any noun that you see in any communication tells you it's fiction. It's an invention, fabrication, or fiction to describe that which is real. From Latin trans, preparatory, across, over, beyond, perhaps originally present participle of a verb, TRARE, meaning to cross. This is where we get our travel, our transit, transit, meaning to cross, from Pi root tre, variant of root ter, as in terrestrial, as in tertia, cross over, pass through, overcome. I come from above and beyond. I come from that which is over your fiction. In chemical use, indicating a compound in which 2 characteristic groups are situated on opposite sides of an axis of a molecule. Flood. Tertiary. Again, just a transformative of the TRE. Terrestrial. Tertiary. It's still going to be as a matter of a third. From Latin tertiarius, of or pertaining to a third. From tertius, third, a third. From the root of tre, 3, see 3. The geological sense, with a capital T, of era of the Mesozoic, which formerly was called the secondary. More than 2. So I want to ask you, depending on what direction you're going, if 2 become 1, is 1 more than 2? I urge you people to ask these questions of yourself and do your due diligence and research to find out. A compound in which 2 characteristic groups are situated on opposite sides of an axis of a molecule. There are 2 concepts that sit on opposite sides of a thought, the same thing. Tercel, from Old French, tercel, circa 1200, from medieval Latin, Tertiolus, from Latin tertius. Same thing. Third, a third, from root tre. Tertium quid, indeterminate between two other things. Latin, literally third something. From tertius, third, a third, from root of tre. The tertium quid is indeterminate between two other things. So a child born is indeterminate of his father and or his mother because it is a combination of both. He may have his dad's eyes, but he's got his mommy's lips. He may have his daddy's build, but he's got his mommy's affect. Trespass as a verb. Triad, aggressive offense, to sin. From Old French trespasser, pass beyond or across, cross, traverse, infringe, violate, from tre. Okay? So when somebody else is taking your treasure, your position as a third party, the benefactor that was granted everything in this material world for his private use, as long as he does not trespass another in that use, that's a trespass. And that grant comes from our Father which art in heaven. And the trustee, who is not in need for that trust to qualify, was our Redeemer. Our sins have been redeemed. It's already done. What is done is what ought be done. There is nothing new under the sun. And so long as you keep chasing a treasure that lies within you somewhere else outside of you, you will be on a path of terror. You will have people confronting you with all kinds of things telling you you can't do that. Whereas if you let the treasure within you well forth, you fill other people's cup with knowledge, which is the true benefit. Trinity as a noun, Tertullian, from Latin trinus, threefold, triple, from plural of trini, three at a time, threefold. So you can't just take it as a unit, as a third unit, but recognize the threefold, the triple. So in the child, you recognize his own personalities that are a combination of both his mother and his father. The Trinity within is a matter of the two become one, and it's a mix of the diverse characters of both that create an even more diverse threefold. So as we saw in tertium, tercel, tertiary, it takes the TRE and turns around a TER. And it means the same thing until you get to terror. Alarm, panic, object of fear. Object of fear. The treasure you seek is the object of fear. Just like Jacob's ladder. He had that dream about his fears of not being able to attain his birthright that he claimed. And he found out that the fear of not being able to claim that birthright was the battle within. And when he overcame the battle within and found out he was his own God, he makes his own choices. And it's because of the diversity of the two that came before him. Cause of alarm, terrible news, TER, ribble. What does ribble mean? Maybe you want to look that up. Ribble sounds like ripple. News, what's news? Something is something new to somebody when they don't know it and you inform them of it. So when you give them the benefit of knowledge, you give them news. Is it good news or terrible news? From terror, fill with fear, frighten. From pi root, T-R-E-S. Terrorism, revolution from Latin terror, great fear. Dread, alarm, panic, object of fear. Cause of alarm, terrible news. 3, as an adjective or a noun. Deriving from an adverb. So the adjective and noun came first in its pi root, tre, from the nominative plural of Proto-Indo-European root tre, meaning 3, but singularly in 1. Source also Sanskrit treas, Avestan 3, Greek tries, Latin trays. So now we have THRI. There. THEIR. THERE. I ask a lot of questions of the English language because I was asked one time if I understood the English language. And belligerently, vehemently, with ego and pride, I stood there and almost hollered, yes! It took me the rest of that night sitting back, wondering about why he asked me that particular question. Why would he ask somebody that's grown up in America all his life? Straight A student pretty much until he got in trouble with the law at a young age. Why would he ask somebody like that? The guy that walked around with dictionaries, if he understood the English language. And I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I had to realize maybe he knows something I don't. So I started looking into it, and that's when I picked up on a term, etymology. I thought, well, let's check this out. Makes sense. If you want to know what it means today, you got to know how it started out. Just like if you want to know who I am today, you got to know how I started out. Jeremiah 1:5, before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. Before thou was cast from the womb, I sanctified thee. I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. And all of these words I've been indoctrinated into. You've been indoctrinated into. You have to learn the roots, and the roots are written in your heart and nowhere else. You won't find it in these dictionaries. You won't find it in a thesauruses. You won't find it in the legal dictionaries. You won't find it online. You're seeking a treasure that you'll never find. The answer truly, that treasure truly is within yourself. And so I speak boldly as I ought to. A-U-G-H-T, a unit of measure, 2. The 2 that came before me that made me the third in 1. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Well, that's about it for today, folks. I've got other things I've got to go do. I won't be in tonight at 8 o'clock. See me with Hitler's Willing Executioners tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Be sure to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. There is, again, like I said, PayPal links in the details section for any that would kindly show some love. It's always appreciated. Chris, anything on your mind before we close out?
Oh yeah, Keith, there's always stuff on my mind. Love to have a call with you at some point and maybe talk with you about it. I just I'm not thinking that now's a good time to talk about things, but I appreciate all your time you put into this venue and helping the folks understand the Johnson tittles of the law, as it were, and their contracts and what they're getting themselves into.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I want to take time real quick to thank Exhibited Meat. I passed over it. I meant to mention treaty because that's what it's all about. You know, that treasure is the treaty within yourself, coming to peace within yourself and realizing that that treaty already exists. He gave you a path to his kingdom. And that path is by following the way of Christ. And that's a trust that is every word of God is pure, for it is a shield unto he who put their faith in God. And that faith is in following the way of Christ, because that's our Redeemer. It's already been done. And again, that trust shall not fail for want of that trustee. So even though Christ was hung on that cross and he's no longer with us, we still have that eternal life. We have the way of letting God be our judge and not that tombstone. That's not a peace treaty. That's a marker of eternity in earth. That's a form of trying to prevent you from reaching that path to your spiritual existence, and knowing that we are in this world but not of this world, and therefore we're just passing through. Pass through. We're going over the land. We're going over the water. We're going over the air. That's the true ascension. So yeah, we'll get together. You've got my email, right? I always drop it in the details section, guys. My private hybrid email is down there. Anytime you want to get a hold of me, just send me a note or a message. Excuse me. I got to get used to using the proper terms in the proper context. But drop me a message. Tell me what you've got to lay on the table, and make sure it's something worth it, because I oftentimes ignore people that sit there and babble. Take time to seriously think about what you're saying and what you're asking. Coin your words or purse your lips. Because like I said, I love you, but I don't care whether you love me back. I have to love you enough to make sure I put the proper correction on the table, whether you like it or not. And this is why I say a lot of people that like me because I tell them the truth. And those that don't like me because I tell them the truth. And I'm sorry if the truth hurts, but I'm telling you, it's been hurting me all my life. I've learned how to get over it. So thank you again. Sir Greg, it should work. I don't know, though. I do know when I go through my different profiles, it shows up for me. So go ahead and do the best you can, folks. But it's time you stop doing what they keep telling you and learn how to do things for yourself. And that means you've got to get over that internal battle that somebody else is your authority. You are your own authority. You are your own God. You make your own choices. And if those choices are willingly and voluntarily giving up to somebody else's authority, then you're not doing the good works that are profitable unto men. So I say these sayings are faithful, that I will, that thou affirm constantly. He who have believed in God, be careful to maintain those good works. Think about that first and make sure everything you're doing is good. Quit voluntarily doing things that may or may not be good, but are convenient because somebody else says they're willing to take responsibility and liability. That's never going to be the case. There's always going to be shared liability if you're involved in doing this shit. You got to stop. You got to stop. So again, I want to remind everybody, God bless you. I love you, but I don't give a rat's ass whether you love me back. Anything else, Chris?
Oh, no, that's, I appreciate the good reminders. And, I'm going to go ahead and forward the link to some of my folks in Hawaii that need to hear your good wisdom. And I would just say that, they have a bunch of these folks that lost their homes over there. They got them all up in the Hyatt Regent Hotel or whatever. And they're signing all kinds of forms and giving all kinds of data elements to these agencies.
Well, yeah, those
that are-
hotels are military forums, guys. Those are for transient beings that are being taken care of as wards of the state by military operations. Those are military
So
forums known as
there's no
battle
way to
forums.
stand on your square as Hawaiians. You know, got to
Yep.
get with your land and do some research, find out who's been moving things around,
Yep.
starting trouble.
So anyway, we're going to close out. I got my things to go do. Thanks for joining me again. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Again, I'm on El Perro, Hecklebus, and Keith Little today. So watch more for me on all three channels from here on out. God bless. Have a good
God
day.
bless you. Be well.